You look terrible. Oh, good morning, everybody. How you all doing today? It's good to you. Good to you, me? Oh, super duper. Super duper. Thanks for asking. Well, day 6 of the 21-day challenge, and run into another one of those roadblocks that we all have to come up against eventually. Last night was my friend Hamilton's birthday. It was a hell of a party, right? So this morning I've woken up feeling a little bit worse for wear. Okay, so back when I was younger, hangovers weren't as much of a problem, and I'm sure anyone of age watching this can sort of relate. These days, oof, it is a day ruiner, right? Like, the reason I don't like drinking, I don't drink very often, is literally because it's like you have to sacrifice a whole day for it. But when your mates come over for a birthday party, obviously I'm not going to be sober Bob sitting in the corner. I had a great night, but now I have to face the music in the morning. But it's fine, okay? Because for some reason, I actually don't feel as bad as I was worried I was going to feel. So I think it's just because, as I said, I've got that momentum now, I've got that traction. It really is like on day 4, there was just, it was like this glass ceiling. It was like a make or break moment. Once I pushed through that, it's just all of a sudden easier. Like, I feel like nothing can stop me now. I'm still a little bit groggy, you know, my eyes are sort of heavy, to be totally honest, but I'm not too queasy, don't have a headache. Wish me luck. I'm going to jump into it, see how much I can get done, and I'll talk to you later. Day number 6 in the bag. Absolutely nailed it, actually crushed it today. Went out there, add an extra 2 sets onto my average routine. So yeah, I feel really great. Actually, I think I've really reached this point of sustainability. So I've just been thinking a little bit about this channel, where I want it to go, what I want to do with it. What I've noticed is about half of my videos is literally just me waking up, reminding myself what I have to do in a day, reminding myself I have to do a workout, and then congratulating myself for doing a workout. Which, when I say it out loud, I suppose isn't really a bad thing, right? I mean, that's the whole point I started this diary, was to get myself accountable, and part of that is, you know, a little bit of positive reinforcement. But besides the point, I've been thinking a little bit about the content that I'm making for the channel. Episode 3 and 4. I think were really good because I had some solid content. I had some of my actual ideas, you know, coming out, and I was workshopping them while I was doing them, and I found that really helpful because I'm actually learning more about it as I'm sort of discussing it, running it through my head. So at the moment, I'm sort of at this divide, right? I'm wondering, should I continue with what I'm doing and just sort of make the topics of each video whatever sort of thing that just pops into my mind through the day, if something comes to mind to talk about, because yesterday, you know, I came up a bit short, right? I pretty much talked about everything that was on my mind to Anthony while I was out, like I said. So when I got home and put the camera up, I was empty. I had nothing to give. So do I just keep hoping for inspiration on the whim, or should I start like sitting down and actually taking an idea, workshopping it, and coming up with something a little bit more concise for each video? Now, there's pros and cons to each of these approaches. If I'm doing for the stream of consciousness style content, I don't have to burn too much energy. It doesn't take much planning. I just have to do it. But once again, the consequence of that is that if one day I'm out of ideas and nothing comes to me, then my content's going to be potentially a little bit dry and forced. On the other hand, if I'm creating the content with a bit more meaning and purpose, well, 1, it becomes more work, so I might be disincentivized to do it, but that's not really an excuse. 2 is I'm not sure if I'd be able to bring out videos every single day. Anyway, so these are just all the ideas bouncing in my head at the moment. But first of all, I wanted to talk to you about something I mentioned the other day. I just wanted to extrapolate upon like a little something I've been working on. So basically, it's about skill acquisition, right? So everything you do, everything you've ever wanted to do is a skill. So let's start by breaking down a little bit of terminology briefly, okay? What's a skill? Well, there's 2 things you can do, right? You can either be a skill or a talent. What's the difference between a skill and a talent? Well, a skill, you practice and get better at it, and a talent's something you're born with. A talent's just something you're naturally better at for whatever reason. Now, the thing people have a hard time with is trying to discern between what's a skill and what's a talent. And a lot of people fall flat because they think that what they're doing requires talent, when really it's just a skill. So the thing I'm talking about is the other day when I said a lot of people set an ambition and they fall off the wagon, especially right at the start. So I wanted to break that apart a little bit. So firstly, I'll start by explaining everything is a skill. Everything. Anything you want to do, right? Talking to people, being comfortable in crowds, art, music, weightlifting, doing backflips, any sort of technical, mechanical work, mathematics, everything is a skill. It can be practiced. But everything is also potentially a talent. Some people are just born better at maths, better with numbers, better with logic. Some people are born with a more creative spirit, right? They're better at taking ideas and expressing them through different mediums. Me personally, I freaking love music. I'm trying to learn guitar, but guitar is really difficult for me. I've always had a really hard time picking it up. I've tried to learn a few times, but I've run into these brick walls every time. The difference now is I'm armed with this knowledge. Now, has any of you guys ever heard the phrase, hard work always beats talent that doesn't work hard? Well, it's true. Fact is, no matter how talented you are at something, I can be better at it as long as I work harder at it than you. All I have to do is compensate for our starting difference in ability by working. If you can imagine your ability in a skill, your aptitude in a skill, as a simple line, your ability on a scale from 1 to 10. All talent means is that someone gets a bit of a head start on that. For instance, music. Down here, up here. Someone who's talented at music starts at a 3, right? So they pick it up and they can pretty competently get sort of the basics down pat. A lot quicker than me. They just sort of have a natural gift for it. Me, I start down here. I'm at 0, right? So even the basics, even the really fundamental beginning things, positioning your fingers, pressing frets down without hitting other frets, these things that do take a bit of time, even for someone that's talented, for me, take longer. And so there's more chance of me getting discouraged because I see this other person that's doing it and they're making it look really easy. And I'm over here struggling. I'm like, no, I'm obviously no good at this. This isn't for me. No, that's not how it works, okay? The thing is, all I have to do is practice harder. So if he comes in, learns that thing straight off the bat because he's talented at it, and he goes, okay, cool, puts the guitar down, goes home after the lesson, and then doesn't think about it because, well, I picked it up already, right? That's in the bag, I'm good. I, on the other hand, someone, not me in particular, but someone with a good work ethic, someone with some self-belief, someone with passion and drive, picks up that guitar, and even though you completely mess it up and you can't figure out how to get it, instead of putting the guitar down at the end of the day, you take it home with you and you sit there and you agonize over it because goddamn, I'm going to get this thing right no matter how many times it takes. And then the next day, that guy comes in with his fingers bleeding, right? And bags under his eyes. And the other kid comes in, chirpy and peppy as hell, right? If you extrapolate that scenario over the course of months, over the course of years, or, you know, we're all human beings, over the course of decades, naturally, who do you think is going to be better off in the long run? Who do you think at the end of the year is going to be better at guitar out of those two people? Obviously the person that worked harder. They're going to very, very quickly overtake the person that's talented because the person talented takes it for granted. Not necessarily all the time, but you know, I'm trying to generalize here to make things a little bit easier. The question is, what are the pitfalls you can look out for to stop yourself from being the guy that picks up the guitar, can't quite get it right on the first lesson, and then goes, nah, I don't want to do it, it's not for me. Well, it's about understanding how a skill develops. There's this concept called the 4 stages of learning, and that's a different kettle of fish for another episode. I want to sort of unpack that as its own subject. But for now, imagine your skill in a subject as a graph, right? So you have your confidence and your belief in the task here, and you have your skill in the task along here. And what happens over time is you start something at nothing with no confidence and no skill at all. And what happens is, right at the beginning, you get this massive spike of confidence, right? You start learning a new skill and you go from absolutely nothing to getting some fundamentals and you think, oh yeah, this is a lot of fun, right? I like this, I'm really enjoying this. It's like your first day exercising. So you come up here and this is called the peak of ignorance or the peak of stupidity, right? Because at this point, you've just learned a few things, but you feel like you know everything. You're like, yeah, I can pick this up because I've gotten a few things. Well, what happens is then you start to learn a little bit more. You know, you're traveling across on this line graph. So you start to learn a little bit more and then your confidence goes down. Because as you start to learn more, you start to learn more about what you don't know. So you start to go, wait a minute, oh, this is actually really hard. I start pushing beyond some of the basics and the fundamentals and they're a little bit harder to learn, a little bit harder to wrap my head around. I have to actually start pushing myself to get there. And so your confidence goes down and down and down as you realize more and more, oh my God, this is actually really difficult. There's a lot to this. Boom, the valley of despair, right? Your skill comes to this point and you're at your lowest confidence because you're thinking to yourself, wow, there's no way I can get this. There's way too much, you know, and you start thinking, because there's so much and I've only come this far in this much time, it's literally going to take me an eternity to get anywhere near capable of this. So you've gone up and then you go down. Now this is where people fall off the wagon, right? Every single time. And that's why I said the hardest part, the part where people fall off, is right at the beginning when that first thing goes wrong. That's that first thing. Thing is though, if you can get through that, if you can push through that dip, and hey, that might take a day, that might take a week, might take a couple of weeks, right? Worst case scenario, I'd say if you're in a dip of that magnitude, it'd take like a week to at most, okay? Or just from my experience. But the thing is, once you push through that, right, you keep practicing, your skill goes up a little bit, well, then you start to get your confidence back. Because now that you've seen how much you don't know, you're starting to realize how fast you're actually learning. So you're getting more skills and you're able to compare yourself to when you started. And since you remember being up here, right, you remember that peak of confidence, that peak of ignorance. You sucked, but you were stoked with yourself. Well, now you're over here on skill. You're looking back at that and you're like, well, I felt pretty good about that, but now I'm way better than that. And I'm getting better every day. And so your confidence goes up, 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 and then hits the plateau of sustainability. And the plateau of sustainability is the point where it's a habit. Boom, you're good. You locked it in the bag, okay? Now, just with a little bit of self-discipline, you can maintain that now. As long as you can keep reminding yourself that you enjoy it, why you want to do it, then you're good. Moral of the story is, no matter what you're trying to learn, keep this in mind. Your goal is to get here. When you're down here, know that no matter what you're trying to learn, as I said, whether it be maths, guitar, art, writing essays, engineering, physics, like it doesn't matter. Once you get here, realize that you're here and realize that the only thing that's ahead of you is this, up. But you got to push through that. Because as I said, that voice in your head that tells you just bail, very loud. Look out for that voice that's looking out for you. Listen to your instincts. That's going to be it from me for now. Give me a lot to think about. I think tomorrow I'm going to do sort of a end of the week wrap up. I'm just going to do some review and I'm going to talk about what I'm going to be doing over the next week. Once again, if you have any suggestions for the channel, if you have anything you'd like to see from me or any topics that you'd like me to cover, I'd really appreciate it. Chuck a comment down below. Chuck a like, subscribe, share, all that shit, you know. Trying to get internet famous here. Come on, help a man out. Anyway, guys, it's been great. Feeling good. End of the week. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. I know my Saturday's going to be killer. See you all next time.